Hey you guys, welcome to the Inner Revolution. My name is Enoch Fossum. I'm a marriage and family therapist intern who's specializing in addiction. In this episode, we're going to be talking about cravings and this whole idea that we are emotionally attached to porn and we don't want to let go of it, which is why it tends to remain and kind of stay in our life no matter what you do. So more on that in this episode. And before we completely jump into things, if you are looking for a therapist or a coach to help you overcome addiction, to overcome pornography specifically and put it behind you for the rest of your life, you can go ahead and schedule a free consultation with me in the link in the description down below. So this is something that, this concept is something that comes up pretty often, I would say, here in the therapy room. This is where most guys, they say they're willing to do everything. They're willing to do anything to overcome pornography, right? But when it comes to it, when it comes to changing their actual habits, changing their lifestyle, changing their life, then that's when they're like, man, I don't know. Maybe I actually don't want to do this. Maybe I'm not ready for something like this. And that can be scary because, I mean, you come to therapy and you're like, man, I'm pumped. I'm gonna, I'm doing this. I'm taking a step in the right direction, which therapy is great. That's a great place to start. However, we always say that 1% of your recovery journey is going to take place here in the therapy room, and the rest, the 99%, is going to take place out there, out in the real world. So recovery itself isn't just about changing or quitting pornography. It's about changing the environment itself, changing your environment. There's a little study that, off the top of my head, I might get some details wrong, but it's called the Rat Park Study. So these scientists, man, these poor rats, right? These scientists take these little rats, boop, and they placed them in isolation, okay, just together. Well, not together, isolated, okay, rats in their own little cage. And in this cage, there were 2 trays of water. One of the trays was just regular water, and the other tray was water with happy drugs in them. We'll just put it that way, where they drink it, they feel good. So these little guys, these isolated guys, they found that the rats over time would tend to always just go towards the water that made them feel good, or the water with the drugs in it. So now you take those same rats and you take them out of their little isolated cage and you plop them in a bigger cage or a big old park with a bunch of little rats, bunch of little friends. They got the little running wheels, they got nice HD TVs, they got couches, nice lounges, plenty of food, and plenty of friends. And in this park, they still had those same 2 options for water. They had regular water and they had the drugged water. And over time, they found that the rats who, in isolation, would always go towards the drugged water, they eventually stopped and just went towards regular water. Why is that? Like, that's so interesting. So it goes to show, at least in this little study, that the environment plays a huge role when it comes to, I would even say, just changing behavior in and of itself. Not getting rid of addictions, but just changing behavior, which is the root cause of these addictions. And when you think about changing your environment or changing these little things, people tend to think of like, oh, maybe I just can't scroll on social media past 10 p.m. or little things like that, right? And that can be a part of it. But there are also bigger things that you'll probably have to do in order to start to see the change that you really want. Cravings themselves are rarely exist in isolation. They're always tied to something emotionally. They can be tied to the time of day, emotional states, habits, people, places, technology. And so let me give you a couple of examples, right? Let's say the only time of day, okay, this one's actually really popular. This might be true for you too. The only time of day that you can hang out with friends and go out and be social is after work and after you do everything at home, which ends up being like 9 or 10 p.m. and you stay out till 12 or 1. Then people will say, what, I'm getting my social time in. It's the only time I can hang with my friends. However, when you get home, you find that you get triggered all the time to go watch pornography because it's 1, 2 in the morning and you're just deadbeat tired. And so in order to cope with that, you start with scrolling on social media, watching some YouTube, eating some Twinkies, eating those donuts, like a couple things, right? Which leads you to eventually having a slip. And so at the end of the day, oftentimes I don't think that it's porn that you crave, right? I think it's the environment itself that porn is living in that you crave and that you don't want to let go of, because you've attached yourself emotionally to hanging out with your friends late at night because it's fun, right? You get to come home and you get to scroll on your social media to relax and finally fall asleep. Porn overall isn't just stimulation. It becomes an emotional support, an escape, a companion, a regulator of stress and loneliness. And we've talked about this before, right? Where your brain doesn't know the difference between a real relationship with a person, okay, and a relationship with a device, with a movie, show, videos, pictures. It doesn't know the difference. The thing about us, dude, is that we are emotional creatures, and we are social creatures. We attach to things, boop, 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 boop. Whether it's people, places, things, we like to make attachments and connections with those things. And so as you repeatedly do the same thing over and over and over again, like pornography, your brain starts saying, oh, okay, this is in our life more now. So we're gonna like DTR, you know? Are we in a real relationship now? I think we are. This is great. This is awesome. You're always here for me. You always comfort me. I like having you around. So let's keep it that way. And so your brain is going to create this attachment or this relationship with pornography. And it thinks that it's literally a real person that's right there with you. Isn't that crazy? And so when we're trying to break this addiction or break these habits, change behaviors, your brain's looking at this like, oh my gosh, like we have to break up. We have to end this relationship. Like, I don't know if I can do this. This hurts. And that's why it creates so much discomfort, because it can feel like you're in an actual relationship and you're trying to end it. You're trying to cut it. And if you guys have ever ended a relationship, you know that's hard. You know, one of the only relationships that have actually ended was back in, I think it was 8th grade. Yep. My 8th grade crush said she didn't like me anymore. I was too nice. So there we go. I remember how that felt in my heart. And that's how it can feel, really, when you're breaking up with pornography or breaking up with really any addiction or habits that you've created. The brain treats it like a lover, a comforter, a place of safety. So if your brain does see pornography as comfort, it's going to treat this breakup, or it's going to defend it like it will a relationship. So here's the difficult thing, the difficult truth around changing behavior and getting rid of addiction, is if you want the craving to die, you have to starve everything that feeds it. Everything. No matter what that is. If that means hanging out with your friends late at night, if that means no more video games, if that means no more listening to certain music because sometimes the lyrics can trigger you, if that means no more watching TV, if that means no more hanging out with certain friends that are bad influences on you, all of these things can be interconnected and related back to pornography. So in order for you to get rid of this attachment to pornography, you have to prune all these little branches or all these little strings that are out and attached to, or interconnected rather, to pornography. You got to cut it all. And that's difficult and that hurts. But you got to come to understand at the end of the day, you're trying to just remove triggers. You're not removing your life. A lot of people tend to freak out. Like, seriously, when I say, are you willing to delete your social media for 100 days? They visibly, a lot of my clients visibly cringe and say, like, I don't know. And I say, well, isn't Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, X, Reddit, aren't those triggers like for you, for porn? Like, don't you find yourself getting triggered on those? Like, yeah. Like, okay, are you willing to get rid of those? And it's hard because the brain's looking at that like, oh my gosh, he's asking me to break up with my long high school sweetheart or junior high sweetheart. Oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do that. And with a lot of these, you can bring them back in your life at a later time. After you have pruned everything, after you've cut it all, everything that's related to porn, after it's no longer in your life, you will eventually detach emotionally from all of those things that are related to porn, if that makes sense. And then you can create a healthier and better emotional attachment to those things, like Instagram, like YouTube, Facebook, hanging out with friends at night, things like that. But it can take a long time. I don't think there is a specific time range for those things. It's like, I'm going to say it all the time, right? It's like going to the gym. I can tell you that if you do these specific things, if you go to the gym and work out consistently, that over time you will become fit and you will be able to bench 225 or 315, whatever, as long as you stay consistent. But I can't tell you that, yeah, in 3 months you'll hit this no problem. I can't tell you that. So same thing goes for pornography. Same thing goes for just any addiction. I don't know how long you have to keep these things out of your life to emotionally detach everything that's connected to porn. I don't know. And so generally people don't do this because they want freedom, but they don't want the sacrifice. And it makes total sense. Like, I'd want to hang out with my friends late at night, hang out with the boys. I love scrolling on Instagram and watching YouTube videos. But if those things are triggers, if those are getting in the way of me becoming the person that I want, is it worth it? Is it worth it to get rid of those things? And the answer for you might be that you need to get rid of those things for the rest of your life. So really, come to think about that. Is that worth it to you? Is this life that you're trying to create, is it worth it? Because it's going to take a lot of work and it's going to take a lot of discomfort and pain. And so I want to prepare you, when you do this, your life is going to feel boring. It's going to feel gray. You're going to feel like you're doing something wrong. Like, recovery shouldn't feel this way. I shouldn't feel awful all the time. That's a part of it. When you go through a breakup, or at least when you watch the shows, right? These girls break up with their boyfriend and they just sitting there in their room for weeks and months. Okay, probably not that long, but you get the idea, right? They sit there for weeks eating ice cream and, oh my gosh, I can't do this anymore. That's what it can feel like. And maybe not to that extreme, but also I think it could be to that extreme, really. Because you're getting rid of something that has provided you comfort for over decades at times. And so you could also feel irritated, restless. And again, you're going to feel bored. You're going to feel like, oh man, what do I do now, right? Because you're cutting ties and your brain thinks in order for you to feel a certain way, in order for you to feel good, you have to go and do these things that are related to porn. And that's just not true. It's going to be unrealistic for you to think that you can go out and find something like reading a book that's going to give you the same dopamine hit as watching porn. And that's not going to happen, dude. I mean, you can be, 20 years sober and only read in your free time. You're still not going to get the same dopamine hit. And so coming to understand that, yes, you can't just like take porn out of your life, take all of these things out of your life, and not replace them with anything. You definitely need to replace them with something. But at first, it's going to feel like when you replace these things, it's not going to feel as satisfying. You're going to feel bored doing these things. You're going to be like, I don't really like these things. I'd prefer to do these other things. Like, of course you would, because your brain's trying to get you to go back to do those things because it doesn't want to detach. Okay? But you've got to cut yourself off and realize that things are going to be gray, things are going to be boring for the next while, and that's okay. That's a part of it. Honestly, if you say that your life is starting to become more boring, you're headed in the right direction. And it's not going to be boring forever. Just realize that. It's not going to be boring forever. Eventually, color will start to seep back in your life, and you're going to start to feel more fulfilled, and you're going to start to feel more, period. You're going to have more dopamine receptors, and you're just going to be able to feel more fulfilled and just feel overall better doing smaller things like reading. Or you're going to be able to have more joy going out for a walk, a stroll, going to the gym, doing all these things. You're not going to feel that dopamine hit as if you watched porn, but you're going to start to feel more fulfilled, period. And I think if you ask anyone, right, you'd rather feel fulfilled than feel the chemical cocktail that dopamine brings. So this week, you guys, I want you to think about a couple of things. Just really one thing. I want you to think about the things in your life that are tied to pornography. Is it spending your nights out with friends? Is it Instagram, YouTube? Is it just social media? Like, start identifying your triggers, whether it's behaviors you do, things you watch, listen to, people you're around. Identify those and start to prune those. Start to prune them out of your life and really focus on things that you can then obviously replace it with, right? You don't just want to rip it out and not replace it with anything. But it's helpful to keep in mind, right, that vision of the person you want to become. What would that person do instead of hanging out with their friends at 1 a.m? Would they still hang out with friends? When? What does that look like? Keep all of that in mind and try and create that life. And remember, as you do that, your life is going to feel boring. It's going to feel dull. You're going to feel like you're not headed in the right direction or you're doing wrong things. But you're not. You're headed in the right direction when that happens. Okay, so if you're feeling bored, take that as a sign that you're doing the right thing and stick with it. I don't know how long that's going to be until you start to have more color and feel more fulfilled in your life doing those things, but I know that eventually it will happen. Okay, you guys rock. If you like this video, go ahead and leave a like, comment down below if you want to, really just whatever you guys want to see, like whatever you guys want to talk about. Well, not see, like relax, dude. We're not going to go that far, okay? Maybe I start my own OnlyFans, a therapist with OnlyFans, where I talk about certain subjects that you want if you're paying for my OnlyFans. This could be something there. But if you did like this video, go ahead and subscribe. If you know of somebody who could benefit from this episode, then go ahead and share it with them. Okay, you guys rock. Peace, love, and life. Namaste. I'll talk to you next week.